Welcome to the channel. My name is Crawford and this is Virginia's for Lowriders. We're back in the garage. We're trying to get something done. I had been out here getting after it, not talking, not rambling. I'd been turning the camera on. I'm going to get y'all caught up to where I'm at right now. The Firewall is 100% welded together. If you were here last week, you're probably thinking, I know, I can tell. You're probably thinking, that Firewall is really ugly so far. And I understand. My vision is coming around, and I'm happy with it so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to please subscribe right now. That would be much appreciated. Go back and check out the over 100 videos of us body dropping a Mazda and bagging a Mazda and building 3 links, and we're building a lowrider mini truck to hop. There's a lot going on this channel. We're body dropping a full-size 4-door 80s Chevy Caprice in the matter of like 3 months because we have to take this car that's not even close to assembled right now to a show in North Carolina that's called Mini Truck Nationals. It's a whole lot of work and we got to get it done. We're trucking along pretty good. It's been a month and 2 weeks so far. We made pretty good progress. I've been coming out here again, knocking this stuff out. I'm going to put in clips of all that. It's been a lot of work done. And then we'll come back and discuss everything that's been done. So hang in here, subscribe, and I appreciate y'all following me and watching this video. Let's just get into some work. So I just want to put it out there. Been to a lot of car shows. My buddy Justin has a G-body. Justin's G-body has a shaved firewall. It's a flat panel, which is very, very common. They sell kits. It looks fine. In my mind, if you've been here since the Mazda, you'd understand. The Mazda, everything about the Mazda, modification-wise, I tried to come back around to making it stock-ish appearing. I take greater joy in trying to make something resemble a factory appearing thing to where you can't tell anything was done to it, rather than, and I have done the radical, like, again, like I showed y'all before, I'm gonna put pictures up of shaved firewalls with real simple squares and stuff, and they look nice. In my mind, every time you see that, when you pop the hood of a G-body, you pop the hood of one of these, which isn't as common to see one of these of the shaved engine bay, any 80s Chevrolet that's shaved, at least in my mind, it goes to that. It's like, I'll pop the hood, oh, that's a big flat panel. Again, nothing's wrong with it. It looks fine, but we're trying to divert your eyes away from that. We don't want that to be a focal point, and that's what we're trying to achieve. That's what y'all just saw me do in that video. So I'm going to give a little explanation before we get carried away. The factory stuff that went here, the big gigantic heater box that hung out to here, which is like a 1.5 feet, had this thing attached to the top of it. This piece sat here, that other piece on the ground bolted upright, and this gasket attached to that. So now we have the little shelf. The rain doesn't get just drenched down into here. It gets diverted, drains like a normal vehicle. The leaves, that's the thing that my buddy Justin told me about, because I've never personally owned a vehicle with the big Chevrolet gaping gap. He said a lot of leaves, which we're actually going to build one of these on the channel, because we talked about it. The leaves and everything else from the earth that gets thrown around, dirt and leaves and rocks and whatever, he said, hits the windshield and just goes in the engine bay, and then you have big ball leaves on top of your headers. That's why we made this, and it looks so much more complete. We got the seam sealer on there, the entire firewall seam sealed. I didn't really show a whole lot of it because you couldn't see what I'm doing because it's behind the engine, but the factory foot pedal will be in its factory location. All of the seams and shapes lined up really well. Again, I spoke about it like 10 times. Plan your cuts out, because if you don't, you're going to have a shelf, basically, that won't look good, and then you'll end up doing the standard mini truck thing where you just have a gigantic flat piece of sheet metal and you're starting from scratch. I'd rather not do that. Again, stock-ish appearing. When you pop the hood of this, nothing looks out of place except for my lines, which I'm hoping, once all this is painted black, just like it is from the factory, like this is a factory black, none of this has been touched. This wasn't ever painted the same color as the car. I picked up some bulkheads off Amazon. These will come into here, somewhere around here for my heater core. These, I need to get longer ones, obviously, because that heater box is out here. So these will swoop in and get attached to the firewall. The fender stops about here, so this all gets covered up. There's a wiring harness that'll come through here that I like to utilize the factory grommet for whenever maybe eventually it gets a stereo and an amp. I have a place to run my wires that looks factory-ish. So we're slowly just closing all this in, and you're going to see this little tiny area with factory style lines that we spoke about in here, that we replicated. So I don't know if all that's making sense, but it's tying it in together, and it's not making it look like just big giant lines on a flat piece of sheet metal. And by the time it's all painted black, I think it'll look pretty good. I like it now. I'll be honest, the first night I put it on there, and I did all the welding and grinding, and I stood back and looked at it, and I was like, that is not what I had in mind. But with all of the layers, like an onion, like I spoke about, I think it's tying together, and I'm happy with it. I've been rambling for 5 minutes now. We're gonna get back to work. I need to start making the filler pieces between the posts and in the corners. Firewall is welded, but I don't have these corners made up. I'm gonna attempt, which I don't think my shrink or stretcher is capable of 16 gauge, but we're gonna try. We're gonna break some sheet metal on the metal brake and try to make some curves in it. It might not work. I might end up slicing stuff. It really doesn't matter. Again, rat roddy stuff. But if this is the first time you've been here and the first time you've seen the car, again, giant traditional body drop with a massive gap. It's like getting into an old Corvette now. It's a little weird. Again, I don't care. Look at the rest of the car. She's ratty, and that's the way it's always going to be and the way that I intended to be. So what I've been thinking about that I think needs to be addressed before I can do the posts and the corners, I need to tie all this together. I think that this is the last part of the car that would actually create any kind of like twisty floppiness. This all can't really get done until these are removed. And I can't remove these until this is done, so it's like a step process. I really want to remove these because there's a crossbar going all the way there. Basically everywhere I need to weld, these guys are in the way of holding the car together. The front's pretty stiff right now. I feel pretty confident about cutting that bar. But this bar is welded to that bar, and so on and so on. And as I mentioned before, this piece of sheet metal is spot welded to this piece of sheet metal. All I'm going to do is basically transfer that exact same thing down to here. I'm going to clean this up so it doesn't look like a gerbil cut it out, and spot weld, cut all the holes all the way across this. I'm going to self tap. I'm going to clean all the metal up, of course, so we can have a good welding service. Prep it in between so it doesn't rust. Sheet metal screw this to draw them together all the way across, and spot weld, and then just remove the sheet metal screws. After that's all done and everything's cooled down, we're going to seam seal just like this, and it'll have that factory appearance that nobody will ever see again. The corners, those are going to get a little tricky. I got some trimming to do. We're going to try and form a piece of sheet metal here to where it doesn't look like, basically, I don't know, whatever this is going on. Come up here to my extremely unnecessary organizing here and pull out the sheet metal screws. I try to make my entire garage as organized as that. I do it in stages. I get a little carried away, as you can tell by that corner, and it doesn't get done quickly, especially when I keep changing projects because of the whole ADD thing. Hyper focusing on that corner feels pretty good, and then you hyper focus on that for like weeks, and you're like organizing, and you come up with stuff like this to where everything's put away, and then it snowballs, and then everything else turns into that because that takes so long, and then you're working on, I don't know, it's pretty bad. I'm gonna trim, grind, and blah 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 blah. We're back out here. It is Sunday. My friends came by yesterday, and that turned into watching them spend a whole lot of money at the hobby shop, which Turned out to be a pretty good day. It was really, really long. I think everybody's here the entire day until early in the morning. But we're back out here. We're going to make some progress. What I got to the other day, actually, it's hard to see. It looks really rough right now. It's all self-tapped. And like I said, I'm using the self-tappers to draw everything together since it's at an angle. When you cut that 1.5 inches out of the rear, everything lays down and angles don't line up, basically. So now I'm going to go through and weld all of those spot welds shut, pull all the self-tappers out, weld all those shut. After that's all done, we can come through and cut out all of the support bars. So support bars are cut out. We're going to move on to trying to make some stuff that I've been talking about making for 3 weeks. That's the plan. So let's just get into it. Well, since I already got the exhaust fan going and a respirator on because I'm welding that really nasty floor with the galvanizing that just doesn't want to come off, I'm going to pop some holes in the firewall for the bulkhead fittings that I purchased for the radiator hoses, which, looking at these, I don't know what they expect you to do, but I don't know in what way this would ever work, why they would give you these massive washers. Even the large nut that goes on there is still I don't know if y'all heard that, but it sounded like something fell off the back of my garage. I'm gonna go out here and check this out. I guess the wind ripped the roof off of my little ghetto shed. I need to make a new one anyway. That thing's getting rough. Well, back to what I was saying. I'm going to pop some holes in that firewall. I'm going to throw some paint or some primer on here and then try to paint it before the end of the day. I don't know if I have any good black, but I'm pretty sure I have some leftover rattle can bedliner stuff that I did the Mazda with. The firewall is supposed to be black on this thing anyway, so I really don't think it matters. I think I have one fresh can. So that's what it's going to get, because I don't feel like going to the store, and I think it'll look fine on this car. This is just isopropyl alcohol. Trying to give it some kind of a chance to stick to this. Getting ahead of myself. Didn't drill any holes. Let's see, the big one goes on top. That looks like a good spot, right? do. Give it a little bit of space. We'll do it at an angle. That'll work. Oh, come on. So this is where we're at. That back wall is all welded up, of course, except for the corners. The firewall looking pretty good, not terrible. Still a giant flat spot. So I didn't completely avoid what I was saying, but again, fenders, coolant lines that'll be kind of curved, like wiring. It'll drown it out, and it's a little blotchy right now because this stuff takes a long time for it to like cure or whatever it needs to do, and then it kind of like sheds these little tiny fuzzies, but not bad. The other side, all of this is factory stuff, so it actually had nothing to do with me. Again, random lines. Manufacturers just do however their stamping stuff works. But I think it'll look pretty good. I don't know if y'all can hear it while this is going on, but the wind has been getting really wild today, and whatever is going on is causing the power to flicker, and I'd rather not burn up a metal brake or a welder. And it's pretty close to the end of the day anyway, so I think we're going to call it quits here. Of course, we got the metal bars out. I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to get all my junk cleaned out of here that has been accumulating and start laying out templates. I'll get all the templates made up tonight, and then I'll just do what I've been doing. I've been pretty good about coming out here every day and getting at least an hour in. An hour every day goes a... I'm not trying to rhyme, that sounds weird. An hour every day goes a long way, but it does. It's It's huge. Even if you come out here for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, if you come out here for 20 minutes and you sweep the floor and pick up, which obviously haven't been doing that part, it just prevents what you need to do later on the next day. So I feel pretty good about the level of what we got done this weekend. The firewall's finished. I just need to concentrate on the floor a little bit more. And next weekend, actually probably tomorrow, I'm going to take these front bumper brackets off and we're cutting this frame rails off. That's happening next week. It has to happen. I think for us to be on track, which I don't even know what on track means, but in my mind, I think I need to have the front end started and at least have the front frame horns lowered and tacked back on by the end of next week. I think that's a must. If I do that, pull the front end back off, get all of it welded back up. During that process, I need to see if the offset of the new wheels is going to interfere with the camber that we're going to have while this is all functioning. Because those arms that are on there are extended 1.25 inches, and 1.25 inches gives you positive camber. I have 3/4 of an inch of spacers taking the positive camber back out of it. So with that, you can see this huge stack of spacers here causes the control arm to hit the cylinder. So I can't really take any more out of it without, basically the cylinder's in the way at that point. So it's a good chance we're going to be doing another set of wrapped control arms because I have the original ones that were on here because these came off a Cadillac. So there's a whole lot of figuring out to do, but I appreciate y'all watching. If you made it to the end of the video, please subscribe if you've never been here before. There is two people that haven't contacted me for the giveaway. One t-shirt guy and one sticker guy. Well, t-shirt and sticker guy. I need for, if you haven't gone back and watched that video of me announcing the giveaway winners, you might want to, because you might be the person that have won. I'm going to try and go back and comment on their original comments to see if I can contact them that way, because outside of that, there's no messaging on YouTube. So message me if you're one of the winners. Or if, let's just say, you have messaged me and for whatever reason I haven't responded, I haven't gotten it. I've responded to everybody that's messaged me so far. Appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully you'll be back next weekend. Next weekend's going to be awesome. Next weekend, regardless of where we get, I'm taking the car off the jack stands. We're going to put it on the ground. Which means I do have to figure out how to make the hydraulics work with everything taken apart. But regardless, we're going to get the car on the ground. Even if I have to crack a line and make a mess, we need that satisfaction of seeing this thing laid out. I think that'll be a huge driver in me getting this done, pretty much. So, yeah, I'm just rambling along. I'll see y'all next Sunday. Thanks for watching.